The Saints' salary cap situation may seem daunting to some, but not to Khai Harley, the team's cap guru and secret weapon when it comes to making the numbers work.
Sean Fazan introduces us to the man the black and gold call on when working out the math.
It's late February, and the NFL offseason is in full swing. And as the New Orleans Saints prep for free agency, they find themselves in familiar territory. Several $1 million over the salary cap. General Manager Mickey Loomis knows his club has work to do.
We've got to catch up. We've got to manage this back to the middle. That's been our plan all along.
This is normally the time the national eyes look at the Saints through a doomsday lens.
I think the Saints, even though they're in really bad shape cap-wise, should really try hard to figure out how to get Derek Carr.
And the Saints refuse to acknowledge it. They're $60 million over the cap. They're talking about signing Derek Carr. They need to accept where they are, sell off the pieces that they can, and start the rebuild.
But inside the building,
got another few weeks before we got to execute that plan.
There's a calm about their situation. Every year, the outside world freaks out about their salary cap. Yet every year, the Saints manage to do what they need to do because of him.
Even though everybody else may be in a panic, we know what we're doing.
Meet Khai Harley. His official title, Team Vice President of Football Administration. For the Saints, he's the go-to guy when it comes to crunching the numbers of the salary cap. So when the team faces $55 million in cap overages like they did to open this offseason, Harley does not panic. He simply gets to work.
Certainly this is the time of year where things heat up and there's more things going on contractually, more negotiations going on contractually and getting ready for free agency and to build the roster for the next season. The main crux of my job is managing the cap, is negotiating player contracts, and yet it's also somewhat like being a compliance officer where there's a rule for practically everything that we do.
And Harley knows them all, down to the last detail. And he can and will use every possible avenue to get the mission accomplished. From adding voidable years to deals to restructuring base salaries and bonuses, Harley is a master at making the math work.
Everybody looks at the salary cap in sort of this illusory sort of way, and yet I look at it as more of an accounting mechanism, right? So my accounting background, like you have, GAAP principles that you use in accounting, and you have the CBA that guides, salary cap construction or contract construction.
Take the COVID off season of 2021, when the Saints were staring at over $100 million in overages. Through a combination of extensions, restructures, and releases, Harley methodically whittled that number down while maintaining the core of the roster. But there's a method to his madness. It's not just about assigning a value to a player. There's a process he abides by in determining what that value is.
Where do you kind of really step in terms of identifying a player and actually signing a player?
As you're going into free agency, our pro staff will have a list of players that they want our coaches to go over, and we'll review all of those players, and then I'll look and say, hey, here's the ranges that I expect these players to come in at. It's also looking at a lot of times in contract negotiation, it's about supply and demand. So, what other players are out there in free agency, what teams have those needs.
But numbers aren't all Harley deals with. When the team targets a player, he's also there to provide the necessary dose of reality of what making those contractual moves can do, both risk and reward.
Can we make it work, right? So difference between probabilities and possibilities. So possible, can we make it work? Should we? That's a different story. That's a different question. All things that we discuss internally, but being able to paint the picture of here's where we're at, here's what we can fit in, and if everybody likes this particular player and we want to get this particular player, okay, here's how we can make it work, and here's the consequence of that.
It's an important part of the process. While making present-day figures work, there's a future component that must be addressed. Harley and the Saints know that their approach to the cap is not for everyone, and there will always be critics. But at the end of it all, if it helps winning, that's all that really matters.
That's one of the things I love about being here, is that winning always takes precedent, and all of the moves that we make as a collective are all under the presumption that it's going to help us win.
Harley's rise to one of the league's top capmen began over 20 years ago with an accounting degree from Rutgers University, to Bloomberg as a financial analyst. But it wasn't a fit, so he went the sports route. His first stop led him to Springfield to get his master's in sports management. Next came an internship with the Indianapolis Colts, then another with the Eagles. Then he worked in player personnel at the league office before catching on with the Saints in 2008 and has been here in New Orleans ever since. Harley has been Loomis's right-hand man for 15 seasons, and he loves it here, and he's earned a lot from Loomis. And many believe it's only a matter of time before Harley himself becomes a GM somewhere, someday, which is his ultimate goal.
When I got into the business, I said I wanted to be able to run a club at some point, and I think that's still the case. So at some point in my career, I would love to be able to run an organization, and yet I'm very happy with the people I work with here and the environment I'm in, and continue to push forward.
No, Harley didn't speak specifically about current Saints players this offseason, but his work is well underway in fixing their salary cap situation. Thus far, the team has restructured 5 contracts and extended 2 others, with more to go. Rest assured, Harley will get it done. Back to you.